Hello again, Indah Melindasari from Wonderland Consulting. I have over 10 years experience as a migration agent and was once a migrant myself. Please click subscribe to get all of the best Australian immigration content and updates. I just want to start by saying we at Wonderland Consulting know firsthand how difficult for everybody the travel restrictions and border closure has been this past year and a half. It seems like the end is finally in sight, with plans in place to start allowing not just citizens and permanent residents, but also skilled migrants and international students back. Eventually, tourists and other temporary visa holders, so now is a crucial time to start thinking about your application so you can be ready to connect to Australia as soon as the borders are reopened. Migrants and international students have always been a crucial part of Australia's economy. And personally, I can say we look forward to welcoming you back with open arms. Now let's get started with the latest immigration news for November 2021. Part 1. Updates on borders and travel restrictions. Update on the reopening of the international border. Parents of Australian citizens and permanent residents now eligible for travel exemptions. Part 2. Changes to business and work visas. South Australia added 70 new occupations for offshore skilled migration program applicants. State nomination update. New South Wales submission window is opened. Queensland postponed the nomination program. Australia agriculture visa update for October 2021. Criteria and requirements announced. Part 3. Other immigration and visa news. New arrangements for onshore and offshore visitor class VA visa application. 2020-21 Australia Migration Program Year Visa Grant. 160,050 places have been given. Alright, let's start update on borders and travel restriction. As I mentioned in the introduction, there are more updates coming out about how to plan to reopen the border and Australia will proceed. The government said they will firstly prioritize the return of citizens and permanent residents that have been stranded overseas. This will be followed by skilled migrants and international students and eventually tourists. So how exactly will this plan proceed? The government has laid out a 4-phase plan that will serve as a pathway to reopening the borders. The national plan focuses on community transmission suppression and post-vaccination settings aimed at preventing major illness, hospitalization, and fatalities. Additionally, the Australian government uses the national plan as a measurement to when they will be reopening the international border. There are 4 phases in the national plan. The digital passenger declaration will provide the capacity to collect, verify, and share any Australian government-approved and digitally verified documents, including travel, health, and vaccine status information of international travelers with the state and territory public health authorities. Phase A. Current phase, vaccine, prepare, and pilot. Phase B. Vaccination transition phase. Phase C. Vaccination consolidation phase. And phase D. Final post-vaccination phase. If the COVID-19 vaccination rollout in Australia reaches 70% for 2 doses, the country can move from phase A to phase B. Then, if the COVID-19 vaccination rollout in Australia reaches 80% or more, the country can move from phase B to phase C. After these announcements were made, it was followed by the news that New South Wales had reached the over 80% threshold of vaccination rates in the state, and that by November 1st, they will be reopening their international border to fully vaccinated citizens for both outbound and inbound travel. There are also pilot programs being tested now in the New South Wales and South of Australia for home quarantine to get around the limited capacity of hotel quarantine. In other positive signs of easing border restrictions and what has been long awaited and fought for by many, parents are now included as immediate family member for travel exemptions. Starting November 1st, a parent of an adult Australian citizen or permanent resident will now be recognized as an immediate family member, making them eligible for travel exemptions. The Australian government emphasised that parents can travel to Australian states or territories as an immediate family member if the states or territories have reached the 80% COVID-19 vaccination rate. Looking at the current situation where 78.8% of New South Wales citizens have been fully vaccinated, Sydney might be the first place to be visited by parents of Australians on the 1st November 2021. And if the Australian parents are fully vaccinated, they will not be required to complete a 14-day hotel quarantine. Many people were upset by the fact that parents were not recognized as immediate family members at a time during the pandemic when people were unable to see their parents and were concerned for their health. Parent visas as well can be a long and expensive process, so this is great news for many of you out there, because now, as long as your state has reached the vaccine threshold, may have their parents visit with a visitor visa and travel exemption now. Part 2. Changes to business and work visas. Moving on now to some skilled visa news. Southern Australia has added 70 new occupations for offshore applications for their skilled migration program, which is great news for those of you interested in skilled work visa from offshore. This makes South Australia one of the first states to open their skilled migration program to offshore application, and the wide variety of occupations is hopeful. Some notable inclusions are jobs in marketing, human resources, sales, and various other managerial roles. You can find the full list of newly added occupations in the link we have provided in the description below. This is an encouraging sign to will-be skilled migrants, and hopefully the start of more and more states looking offshore again for skilled migrations to assist the economic recovery from the COVID pandemic. In state nomination news, Queensland has postponed their state nomination for the Subclass 491 opening. Originally announced to open at the end of September, however, that has been postponed as the state government has yet to finalize the requirement. But that means that there is a possibility it will be opening in November, so we will keep potential applicants updated on any updates. You can read more about this and requirements and how to apply for the Subclass 491 in the article link in the description. There have been updates on the agriculture visa requirements and how the visa itself will operate. The agriculture visa is not a new subclass, but will be a new stream as part of the temporary work international relations, the subclass 403 visa. This in part means that it will be a sponsorship visa, and they have released requirements for both applicants and sponsors. The requirements for Australia agriculture visa applicants are as follows. Must be participating as a worker in the AAWP or Australian Agriculture Worker Program administered by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. must specify in the application the person who has agreed to be the applicant's sponsor, must have a sponsor, maybe in or outside Australia when the application is made, but not in the immigration clearance. Additionally, the requirements for the sponsor are as follows. Can be a person or an employer who agreed to be the applicant's sponsor. Must have been approved and has applied for approval as a temporary activity sponsor. Must be participating as an employer in the AAWP administered by the Department of Foreign Affairs and Trade. Must not choose to be the applicant's sponsor. Must be no adverse information known about the sponsor or a person associated with the sponsor to immigration. It is important to note that to be eligible for this visa, applicants will come from countries where the foreign government is a party to an AAWP agreement, basically a bilateral agreement between Australia and the other countries. The plan is for these to be Asian countries, but negotiations are still ongoing at this time. Target sectors in other regional areas of New South Wales: technology, enable primary industries, critical minerals, recycling and waste management. Part 3. Other immigration and visa news. In other news, there will be changes to the submission of applications for all streams of visitor visa subclass 600. This will be a plan put in place to slowly pace out paper-based applications in favor of getting all applicants to apply through the online IMI account platform. Starting in October, all offshore applications for the visitor visa must be done online via the IMI account platform. While onshore application may still be posted to the Sydney office and through the online service, but applicants will no longer be able to use the courier method of submitting applications. Then, in phase 2 of the plan set for early 2022, all visitor visa applications, be it onshore or offshore, will have to be submitted through the IMI account. Finally, our last bit of news for today is that the Home Affairs Department has released the report on the number of visa grants for the Australia Migration Program year 2020 and 21. In a positive sign, the department exceeded the expectations of providing 160,000 places. It was only by 52, but still a positive sign that Australia is still pro-migration and will go ahead with plans to have a big push for immigration once the borders are open. The visa grants were broken down as follows. As you can see from the screen, 168 places for the skilled stream, 47,732 places for the family stream, 236 places for the special eligibility stream, and around 3,350 places for child visas. China, India, and the UK remained the top 3 countries whose citizens received the most visa grants, with India receiving the most grants for skilled visa. Most of these visas were granted to onshore applicants, but that was still a fair number that were granted for offshore applicants. For example, 29% of the skilled visa were granted to offshore applicants. Well, that's the run-up of all the changes and updates. If you have any questions about how these changes might affect you or benefit you, please don't hesitate to reach out to us, leave a comment or questions, and we'll get back to you ASAP. You can find our contact details in the description and in the comments, so feel free to send an email or call with an inquiry, and our advisors will be there for all your visa needs. Wonderland Consulting is here to help you. As always, thank you for watching.